chapter 9. Okay, we've done here first 8 chapters. Here's our last chapter, chapter 9. Okay, Tisha. And we'll start off talking about verb conjugation overview. So look at words that are verbs. You see write and wrote, and beat, and bite and bit, and blow and blew. The difference is different tenses, right? They conjugate them. So looking at English has 12 languages. Someone said that we're more than any other language. That's not right. But in English, we have 4 tenses that are the present tense. The simple present, which is I play. The present progressive, I am playing. Present perfect, I have played. Present perfect progressive, I have been playing. There's 4 that are past tense. I played, I was playing, I had played, and I had been playing. And there's 4 future tenses. I will play, I will be playing, I will have played, I will have been playing. Plus there's the infinitive, like go practice your piano, play. That's another tense. So anyway, that's not too bad. German, I understand, has 6 tenses. Whoever wrote this also said that Slavic languages have 3, past, present, and future. So does Hebrew, just 3 tenses. Tonal language like Mandarin apparently have none. I don't know about those. Spanish, though, has 15 tenses to it, so they have a few extras. Modern and Biblical Hebrew both have 3 tenses, plus 7 binyans or forms in each. So it makes it look like there's 21 different versions of Hebrew verbs. But anyway, more on that later today. So looking at Hebrew, we're looking at there's a simple past, a simple present, a simple future. No progressives, no perfect tenses, no compound tenses to trip you up. That makes it sound pretty easy. So let's start the lesson. So in chapter 9, we start with section 43. 43 is katab. Katab is the verb to write. So there's 2 verbal inflections for person, number, and gender for each Hebrew verb. And I think there's actually 3, but I'm not sure how they can class that, but we'll leave it that way. The first of those is called perfect. And perfect is formed by adding suffixes to a relatively fixed stem. Okay, so you add those at the end, like katav. From the katav, you add katav t. Katav is he wrote, katav t is I wrote. So we call that the past tense. Think about something that's perfect. You don't want to change it. Something in the past you can't change either. So the perfect tense in Hebrew is just the past tense, for the most part anyway. Second is called the imperfect. It's something imperfect, you can still change it, like you can still change the future. And so it has a different stem. It changes the stem a little bit, but it has also person and number and gender, but it adds prefixes and suffixes to these. So this is like yiktov would be he will write, and yiktov na would be they will write. And thus those are going to be the future tenses. So let's take a look at all the possible choices here. We have 9 ways that these come up. And looking at this, the full inflection of those is as follows. Katav is he wrote. Katava is she wrote. Katavta is you wrote for masculine singular. Katavt, you wrote if for feminine singular. And katavti for I wrote. That's the third person, the second person, and finally the first person. In the plural, we have katavu, which is they wrote. Katavtim, katavten, and katavnu. So that's the third, the second, the first person. Notice that the third person, there's only the one version for that, whether it's male or female. So a couple things to be noticed there. It mentions about 5 of those. So here, number 1, the traditional arrangement of a verb paradigm or a conjugation or a list like this begins with the third person and proceeds to the first. So that's kind of unusual. We normally do it first, second, third person. They do it third, second, first person. And part of that is the way these verbs, their root that comes from the third person masculine singular. And so it's kind of based on that one. So they start with that one first. The second item here in the perfect, there's a distinction formed for gender in the second and third persons of singular and in second person. But the others, the first person singular and plural, and the third person plural do not reflect the gender. So if you say I wrote, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl writing, it's just the same. And if you did they wrote, it doesn't matter if it's males or females, that would both be the same also. Okay. The third item on that is the endings given in the paradigm above are standard for nearly all the verbs in the language. About 70% of the verbs in Hebrew follow this form. Many variations happen in this case, such as the words, the second person masculine singular also appears with a final mater lectionis, which again is, so this is katabta. Notice it has an extra hey at the end of that to be a place for this vowel. Otherwise, it would just be sitting there or whatever. So that's added in there. Just it's an extra consonant added, showing a vowel. That's what modern lectionis is. So it's not pronounced any different, but it's written slightly different. The fourth item there, the stem of the word katab changes in accordance with the shape of the suffix added. So again, unstressed ending in ta or it or t or nu, the stem remains the same as in the third person masculine singular. The addition of the endings a and u, both stressed and consisting of a vowel, opens a final syllable of the stem. So those endings reduce it to a schwa on the end. And the endings tim and tin are always stressed. The accents on the last syllable in those cases. Because they begin with a consonant, the second stem syllable remains closed and unchanged. And so the first stem is reduced to a schwa. And the fifth item on this is when the final root consonant is the same as that which begins the suffix, only one letter is written, but with a dagesh forte, and thus karat, he cut, but a dot there, you're gonna write it, you'll write it, you'll have the T here doubles, and so you see a dot there, that's the dagesh forte, and so it is written as a double T when you transliterate it, I cut. And from shakan, which is he settled, to shakanu, notice the N is doubled by putting a dagesh forte in that one. And we write with two N's then. So verbs whose roots contain a guttural consonant, or those roots who have other phonological peculiarities, such as bonnet, deviate from the pattern. And so we call those are weak verbs. Weak verbs have either a guttural consonant in it, or it may have a yod or a hey, and those sometimes change. Other ones, the normal ones, have no problems. They're called sound, or they're called regular triliteral verbs, because the triliteral means they have three letters, and they're regular. They're not weird or strange or anything like that. So those are the good ones to go through. Okay, section 44, the meaning of the perfect. We shall see in the course of this book that the translation value of Hebrew tenses is very largely based on this kind of sentence or clause in which the verb is used. I just mentioned the perfect is going to be the past tense, and it sometimes is, but sometimes not. So here's the different possibilities. We've got four possibles. Number one, with all verbs, regardless of their meanings, the Hebrew perfect may be translated as English simple past, like I wrote, or the present perfect one, I have written. That's the easiest way, and that's the most common way we normally translate those. Number two is when verbs signifying perception or the attitude or disposition of the subject toward an object, rather than direct action performed on the object. The perfect may be translated by the general present tense, such as achavti, I love, or I have, or as above, I loved or have loved. But that's in the present tense then. It can be in the present tense. And yadati, I know, or I knew, or have known. And so that again can be present that one. Three, with verbs signifying the mental or physical state of the subject, which consequently do not occur with the direct object. The perfect may be translated with the English present form of the verb to be plus an adjective. Now in English, we use the verb to be in the present. We don't in Hebrew. They do use the present. They do use the verb to be in past and present, past and future, but not in the present. Okay, so zakanti, I am old, or I've become old, or I grew old, is an example of that one. It's the verb to be. That just says I old, but referring to I became old, or I am older, I got myself old, or something like that. and then rarely in prose, like in poetry or whatever, but not very, but frequently in poetry or proverbial expressions, the perfect is used to denote habitual activity with no specific tense. Okay, like in English, you're saying I write, just a general present tense. All right. Okay, the word order in a verbal sentence is the 45th, no, yeah, the 45th section of our book. Okay, so normally the verb comes first, then the subject, then the object, and then the adverbs in that order. Okay, so for example, here we see the word zakar, and you say, I don't remember what that means because zakar means remember. Okay, so this is the masculine singular, so it would mean he remembered. Ish, ha-ish, that means the man, so the man remembered. Et, that's the direct object indicator. Ha-devarim, devar is the word for word, and so devarim is plural, so this is the words. So the man remembered the words. Again, the verb, then the object, or the subject, then the object, and then if there's anything else that was describing that, the nice words or the kind words, that would be after that. Okay, versus katav ha'ish, the man wrote, et hadavar, this is direct object, so the word, a sefer, in the book. The man wrote the word in the book. Okay. It's by no means unusual to find the subject or some other element before the verb, but normally it's shown to show condition on interclause relationship. If they're trying to accentuate something specific, whatever, but normally it's not. Normally it's in this order. Okay, here's other examples. Okay, so the verb agrees in person, in the number, and in gender with the subject. Pronominal subjects are inherent to the verb. Okay, so for example, zakar, he remembered. Et hadavarim. Okay, so he remembered the words versus zakra, et, that means she remembered. Et hadevarim, she remembered the words. Or zakra ha'ish, so the woman remembered. Et hadevarim, the woman remembered the words. And again, the particle et is used before direct objects, as we've talked about before. If you have something that's negative in the opposite, then you put the lo normally right before the verb. So instead of zakarti, which means I remembered, zakarti, you say lo zakarti, which means I didn't remember. Et hadavar, I didn't remember the code word. I didn't remember the word to get into the password or whatever. That's you'd use that one. Okay, an indirect object, which always marked by the preposition la at the beginning, tends to precede the direct object when the former is pronominal and the latter is nominal. So in the case here, we have the word lo, which means to him, gave to him. So Natan is he gave to him et haisha, which means the wife. So he gave him the woman. He gave the woman to him. And again, whoever's receiving, it's the la in front of it. So it's to him, not he gave the woman, the man to the woman. It's the woman gave her to him. Otherwise, a direct object or indirect object may be considered in the normal order. Okay, so Natan is going to be he gave. Isha, that is a wife. Lo, to him. La Isha. I messed that up, didn't I, over here? Sorry. Natan ota. Sorry, he gave her, this is the her part, sorry. He gave her to him, the woman. He gave the woman to him, to wife. All right, and conversely, Natan et haisha laish. He gave to the woman, the man. He gave this is a direct object. He gave the woman to the man. This is again the la, whoever has the la is a receiver. So give the woman to the man. All right, the forms of the conjugation or the conjunction the. The is put at the beginning of a word which means and. But like we talked about prepositions like ba, la, and ka, in this case the la, the va, differs before in 4 different regions, and there's going to be some part of the vocabulary on this, or the homework on this is going to have some of each one of these. So before a labial consonant, and a labial consonant is those that you use with your lip, like the ba and the pa and the ma. You can't say those without using your lips. And you can say ta and sa and ka without your lips. You need ba and pa and ma with that. And in that case, before you put the u instead of the va. So here's the b. So bait, instead of va bait, it's u bait. Instead of po, that's the f sound or the pa sound, it's ufo. Instead of the m maim, it's umaim, and water and here and a house. And so that's if it's for a labial consonant, that's one of the 4 ways we change it. It changes to an u in each of those cases. Secondly, before a verb, a word that begins with a ya, a yod, the conjunction, the first syllable of the word contract to v, like Yehuda. Instead of v Yehuda, this goes to viuda, vihuda. Okay, yadatim, which means you knew, yadatim goes to vidatim. So that's where they go on those. And so, or vidatim. Anyway, so if it has a B, P, or M, it goes to U. If it has a ya, it goes to v. Okay, instead of, yeah. And then in the third case, before a word begins with any consonant except for the yod, and if it has a schwa, the form is a u also, like Shmuel, Samuel. Since it starts with a shva, it's Ushmael instead of Vishmuel. Okay, it's Ushmuel. Okay, and that's that one. And before a guttural that has either an a, or an o, the conjunction, it takes the same vowel for the vav, for the vav. And so instead of arasot, it goes va arasot. Instead of edom, it becomes ve edom. Instead of oni, it becomes oni. Okay, there's not only o, but it's the same vowel twice. Okay, so in each one of these cases, if they start with a guttural and one of those vowels, you just double the vowel and put the vav with it. All right, that's enough for those. Time for vocabulary. Okay, the word for yom is the word for day. Yamim is the plural then, that means days. And hayom would mean the day, meaning the most important day. Today is the day, so hayom is the day. So if you're ever going to say today, it just means hayom, or hayom means the day, today. Okay, Laila. Notice the accents on the first syllable here. Laila means night, so it's not Laila, but Laila. Yep, enough on that one, and that's feminine. They will occasionally use nights as plural, like 7 nights in a row. But normally you just talk about night and nighttime. It's just night. It's just a singular. And that's good. Oh, and it says it's masculine, not feminine. Sorry, I got that wrong. I just know some ladies that are named Layla, and they're feminine. So, okay, next is we have makom. And makom is the place or the locale or the location. So if you're using your GPS to find a place, that's, Google Maps, that's the makom we're looking for. Okay, makom. And Shemaim is the word for heavens or for the sky. And the beginning of Genesis, talking about God created the heavens and the earth. That's it. Okay, Shemaim. And it's always plural. It's not singular. You can't just have one heaven. It's the plural. Okay, for verbs, we have yalad. Now, you remember that yeled is the word for child. And so this is the verb. Yalad means to bear or to give birth to. So yalad is giving birth. Kabatz, Okay, and you may have heard of a kibbutz. A kibbutz is a gathering of people that may be working to have a community, common, they're common crops or common goods or whatever, and that's called a kibbutz, but that just means a gathering. So anytime you have a gathering, that's a kibbutz. Anyway, so kabas is the word to gather. The word zakar is to remember, zakar. So remember that one. Okay, an adjective. Echad. Echad is the masculine form of one. The feminine is ahat. And so if you have one, something that's feminine, it's ahat. If it's one, it's something that's masculine, it's echad. All right, and if you have one of something, like we have one of whatever, it's use the word min. So it's echad min if it's masculine, and ahat min if it's feminine. One of you're one of the guys or whatever. All right, ben. The word ben, just without the yod here, means son, but with the yod, it refers between. So betwixt me and thee, between A and B. So you'd say ben a, u ben be. Okay, so this is or between, or they just say ben a the b, I guess. So the would be and. So you either say between A and between B, or just between A and B. Okay, batok is in the midst of. Mitok is in from the midst of, from the middle of something. The adverb gone means also, or even, or to. If it plays right before the word, it modifies, like in Gam Hamelech, it means the king too, or even the king. Like, so Gam Hamelech, even the king sucks his thumb, or something like that. Okay, that's even like it's an unusual thing. You put it on the front. And the word lo with aleph here means no or not. If it has the vav, that means to him, but this just means lo, no, or not. It's a negative just placed before the word that it negates, or before a verb generally. Okay, we got 5 pages of homework. If you want to look at these and try those, we'll go through some of this. And so we have the word yarad. Yarad is to descend. We have yashav, which is to dwell or to dwell or to sit in place. And then try to remember this one. I can't remember what it is. Just kidding. That's zakar, which means to remember. All right. So you figure out all the paradigm, all the different endings, all the different forms of that. There's 9 forms for each one of those. What are the common phrases of those? Gold and silver, wisdom and understanding, advice and work. And so all of them have an and it depends on what this other word starts with, or whatever, how are you going to do that one? So you do those. Translate these Hebrew words into English. Translate these English words into Hebrew. All right. So before we go ahead and actually do that now, let's review the vocabulary from the first 8 chapters. Okay, so remember chapter 1, Na'ar was a young man or a lad or a boy or a servant. Zaken was an old man or an elder. Bait was a house. Nahar was a river. Sadeh is a field. Derek was a road or a way. Al means on, upon, against, concerning, because of, or over. B in the front of a word, it means in or with, or by the means of. Etzel means near or beside or by. Sham is there in that place. Aye is where or in what place. And the word va is just before a word, it means and. All right. The word ish was for man or husband. Isha was wife or woman. Batim is the plural of house. So this is houses. Yeled is a boy or a child. Hekal is palace or temple. Melech is king or ruler. Sefer was book. Ebed was servant or slave. Ir was city, or Avim is the cities. Me was who was he was she. And po was here. Epho is where. Chapter 3, we went through davar, devarim, which means word or words, matters of things or affairs. Ra'av was famine, versus Rav just meant much or many. and Ra was bad or evil. Ra at the bottom, you see there. Eretz was land or earth, and Eretzot would be the lands or earths, or planets in that case. Har is the word for mountain. Was for people or nation, and Gan was garden. Tov was good. Gadol was great, big or large. Gaton is small, little, or unimportant. Yafeh is beautiful, handsome, pretty. Ra is evil, bad, or wicked. And Meod means very much. So Tov Meod means very good. It's good very much. Or Ra Meod, or Yafeh Meod, or Katon Meod. Those are all could be very much, whatever. Remember, the adjectives agree in the number and gender. So like Tov, Tova, Tovim, Tovot, Gadolah, Gadol, Gadolah, Gadolim, Gadolot, etc. Okay, Shofet was the word for judge. Malak is the word for messenger or angel. Kiseh was throne. For verbs, in the case of gerunds or writings, so these are the away words. Kotev, Ochel, Noten, Holek, and Yoshev are all verbs that we use for writing and eating, giving, setting, placing, going or walking, sitting, dwelling, or inhabiting. Preposition, we have et, before the direct object marker before we have a direct something that's directly being passed on or done something to. La, which means to or for or as. And el means to or toward motion, but sometimes it's the same as la. And baene in the eyes of or in the opinions of, or as far as so-and-so is concerned. Okay, chapter 5, where does zahav, which is gold, chokmah, which is wisdom, kesev, which is silver or money, avodah, which is work, task, certitude, etzah, which is counsel or advice, etzah. For adjectives, yakar is precious, yashar is just or upright, sadiq is going to be righteous, kashay is difficult or hard, kashay, and rasha is going to be evil, bad, or criminal. Proper names, we have David, Shmuel is going to be Samuel, Yerushalayim or Yerushalem would be Jerusalem. Min is a preposition like from, or can mean some of the men, some of this or some of that or whatever. Okay, so Anashim, Ha'anashim is going to be the men, so Meha Anashim is going to be some of the men. Asher is going to be which or what or who. Okay, chapter 6 was kol, which meant voice. Kol gadol is going to be with a loud voice. Etz is the word for tree or wood. Kerem is the word for vineyard. Soek is back to our verbs here. Soek is crying out or in distress. Sholeach is going to be sending. Noteach is going to be planting. Yotze is going to be going forth or leaving. We had tachat, which is under or instead of. We had ki, which is because, since, for that, and rav, which is many, many, much, or numerous. Chapter 7, we had son, which was a flock of small cattle. Bakar, which is a herd of large cattle. Gamal and gemalim is the word for camel and camels. Lechem is bread or food. Yored is going to be descending or going down. Ashir is going to be rich. Dal is poor. Yesh means there is or there are. And Ain is there is not or there are not. Okay, chapter 8. Bina is understanding or perceptiveness. Bina. Tzedek is going to be righteousness. Kind of like Sadiq was the word righteous. Aish is fire. There's not a plural of that. Aish. Nabi was a word for prophet. Boneh is building. Ole is going to be ascending or going up. Ole. And Nofel is going to be falling. All right. Okay, so if you did for this chapter, we had descending, going down. It said, give the paradigm of this one. And I'm grateful people who made these online. They had the answers because I don't have a recorder anyway to type in Hebrew. And they made a mistake here. They put the same answer twice, and that should have been masculine, the third person masculine plural is not the same as the third masculine singular, but anyway. Okay, so Yared is descend or to go down. And so this is in the past. So descended, this would be he descended, Yarad. Okay, and this is going to end in Yarda. It should be with a hey on the end and comments here. So Yarda is the word for she descended. This would be you descended. Okay, and this is Yared Ta, Yaradta, and Yarad is the you female descended. And if I descended, it's Yarad T. Yarad T. All right, now for the plurals. Y'all descended, whether it's male or female, is Yardu. This is Yarad Tim, Yared Ten, and Yarad Nu. So we descended. Y'all female descended or y'all males descended. And this is they descended, whether it's male or female. Okay, similar pattern over here. We're looking for, so this is Yashav, and Yashav is to sit or to dwell or inhabit. In the past, it's sat, dwelt, or inhabited. So he dwelt, Yashav, she dwelt, Yashva, you dwelt, Yashavta, she dwelt, not you, I'm sorry, this is you, Yashavta, and Yashavt, and then Yashavti is I dwelt. For the they dwelt would be Yashvu. For masculine y'all dwelt would be Yashavtim. A bunch of females would be Yashavtin, 10. And if we dwelt, it's Yashavnu. All right, for over here, Zakar, to remember. So remembered is, so he remembered is Zahar. This is, I'm sorry, Zakar, Zakra, Zakarta, Zakart, Zakarti, Zakru, Zakar10, and Zakarnu. So that's where you conjugate those for the past on those three verbs. And there's the same pattern for most of the verbs. Okay, write out the following phrases in Hebrew with attention to the form of and. Now, gold and silver. So gold was Zahav, and silver is Kesef. And Kesef starts with a K sound, and so it just follows the normal way you do it. You have Zahar, Zahav, the Kesef. So everything's fine there, no problem. That's the way we taught you to do it at the beginning, this fa underneath it. However, this next one doesn't go that way. So wisdom is going to be Chokmah, and Chokmah didn't change, and understanding, because this has one of the labial consonants, a B, then you have the U in front. So E, instead of the bina, it's U bina. So Chokmah U bina. Advice, or the word for advice is etzeh, that didn't change, and work is going to be avodah. Since it's a avodah is a guttural word, you just copy the vowel here over to there. So this is ah, that becomes va. So va avodah. So etzeh va avodah. Okay, small cattle would be tzon, and large cattle is bakar. And again, it starts with a B. Okay, and so in that case, it's instead of v bakar, it's u bakar. Okay, tzon u bakar, small cattle and large cattle. Okay, for servants and camels, the word for servant was avodim, and camels are going to be gamalim. And since gamalim starts with has a shva, you put the u in front of that. So avodim, u, gamalim. Now, if you change the order here, what does that change? Well, gamal is still going to be, or gamalim is going to be the same, but now you put a vav in front of this, you're going to just put that same vowel over there. So we're going to have gamalim, va'avadim, yep. So they have a lot of ahs there, yep. A great and rich man, so you're going to have the man, ish. It's going to be great and rich. Great is gadol, and rich is going to be ashir. And so we have ish gadol. Since ashir begins with a guttural, you put the schwa on over here, so that goes this way. So we have the ashir. So that's, instead of u, it's just the va. Okay, a poor and unimportant woman. So woman's going to be isha. Poor is dal for masculine, dala for feminine. Unimportant would be katana. Okay, and katana starts with a k. Okay, but it starts with a shva, so that means you're going to put the u in front of that one. So this is just isha, dala, u, katana. Okay, one man and one woman. Okay, the word we went for one today, so you'd say one man is going to be ish echad, ish echad, sorry, ish echad. This is one. This is man, and this is with a guttural. So you should just keep it the same there. So the isha, and that's achat. So there's one woman. So one man, or man one and woman one. So that's one man and one woman. Okay, looking at this, we have yashav, and yashav is to sit or to dwell in a place. So it's going to be haish. So the man sat or the dwelt, bain, which is between, hanahar, which is the river, ubain, and between, hasadeh, the field. So that's what we're looking for. The man sat or dwelt between the river and the field. It was just one day, he was probably just sitting there. If he's been there for years, probably just dwelling there. Okay, over here we have kavatz, like the word kibbutz, meaning gathering. So this is going to be gathered, and this is the masculine singular, so he gathered. Hanavi, that's the prophet, so the prophet gathered. Et, direct object marker. Ha'am, he gathered the people. Etzel, near. Hahekal, the palace. Hagadol, the great or the grand or the big. So the prophet gathered the people near the great or large palace or temple. All right, down here we have Bayom. Okay, remember Hayom is today. Bayom would be in the day, but then it says Hahu, which means the this. So, or in that. So that's going to be in that day, not today. And so this would not be today, but in that day. Lafla, so fell. Aish, which was fire. Min, which is from. Hashamayim, which is the heavens. So in that day, fire fell from the heavens or from the sky. And great catastrophe then. All right, number 4. Halak. Halak was the word to go to walk toward, or whatever. So this is halku, which was they walked. Ha'am, the people. Al hashefet, okay, they walked to the judge. Hayashar, yashar is the upright or the just judge. That lo halku, and they did not walk. Al hanabi, they did not walk to the prophet. Harabah, harasha, sorry. And that, so the people went to the just judge and did not go to the evil prophet. So it's the prophet, the evil one. All right, next one, number 5, me means who. Hanaviim, so Hanavi would be the prophets, so Hanaviim is the prophets. So who are the prophets? Haholikim, who are walking, el ha'ir, to the city. Who are the prophets who are walking or going to the city? Number 6, Balayla, in the night, Hahu, which means in that night. Okay, so in that night, Yardu, that's descended or fell down. They fell down or they descended. Ha'anakim, that's the men. So the men descended or went down. Me he ha'arim. Okay, so we have har, but here's har, which means mount. Harim, which means mountains. He ha'arim means the mountains. This would mean from the mountains. So we have basically in that night, the men descended or went down from the mountains. Okay, number 7. We have Yashavnu. Yashav is to dwell or to sit. Okay, so Shavnu is we dwelt. Batok, that's a new word from chapter 9, is in the midst of. Ha'ir, the city. We lived in the middle of the city. Velo, and not holaknu. We did not walk away or go forth or leave. Min hamakom. And hamakom was from that location, that GPS, that location, that locale. So we dwelt inside the city or in the midst of the city, and we did not leave or go forth from that place or from that location. All right, Yored is the word for, not Yored, sorry, Yalad is the word to give birth. And so this would be a woman giving birth, if there's not a guy giving birth, okay? So Yalda would be, she gave birth, Haisha, the woman, so the woman gave birth. Yeled is child, and Yeladim would be many baby children. So she gave birth to children. Haravim, which would be many, that Yafim, which means beautiful. So the woman gave birth to many beautiful children. That's a nice thing. Okay, number 9, we're looking at Lami. Me is who, and this is to. So to who or to whom, or for whom it could be. And we have Kavatsta, okay. That would be to the you, so you give, or who gather. This is like kibbutz is to gather. So who did you gather? Et hakesev, who did you gather the silver? For whom did you gather the silver? The et hazakar, zahav, which is gold. So who did you collect the silver and gold for? Okay, or for whom did you collect the silver and gold? Down here, lo, which means no. Nafal, he didn't, or fell. He fell, so this means he didn't fall. Echad, one, so even, and then me hana'arim, okay. Nahar is going to be a lad, Ne'arim is going to be the youth, Ha Ne'arim is the youth, and Mit Ne'arim is not even, so meh. So this is going to be not even one, not fell one even of the young men, or not even one of the youth fell. As we come up with this one. All right, now that was the easy way. Now in the Hebrew, he gave wisdom and understanding to the prophets. So he gave is going to be Natan, and so that's just that one. Wisdom is Chokmah, and understanding is going to be Binah. But since it starts with a ba, you'd put the vav with an u in front of it. Okay, so this would be u binah instead of the binah. Okay, Natan Chokmah ubinah el hanabiim, to the prophets. Okay, so that was it. He gave wisdom and understanding to the prophets. They sent gold and silver to the men in the temple. Okay, so they sent, to send is going to be sholeach, and so it's going to be shohu, they sent. The gold is et ha, ha, zakar, ha, no, zahav. Okay, and I put this in gold. Okay, so shalhu et hazahav. They sent the gold. Okay, and the silver is going to be, okay, silver is going to be kesev, and that would be hakesev, and you put the et, so that would be the et hakesev. This is in silver writing, okay, so in the silver, to the men, okay, so it's going to be al hanashim, in the temple. Temple is hekal, and so ba hekal. So that's that one. So they sent the gold and the silver to the men in the temple. That was pretty good. Okay, number 3. This work is very hard because we have no understanding. All right, we don't know what we're doing here. Okay, so work is avodah, and so that'd be ha'avodah is very hard. And oh, and I'm sorry, the word this. Remember that we had zay for masculine and zot for feminine, and work is feminine. So we're going to say avodah, ha'avodah hazot, this work, kasha is hard, meod, very, it's very hard. Why? Because, and because was key, we have no, or there is not to us, and so lanu is to us, and we have none is going to be ein. So key, because there is not to us bina, understanding. We have no understanding. There's no understanding to us. It's very hard because we don't know what we're doing. Okay, today the men are building a house in the city. So today again is hayom. The men is hanakim. Building is boneh or bana, I guess. And so that would be, and they're building, so it's banim. House is bait, and in the city is going to be bair. So hayom, hanashim, bonim, bait, bair. All right, number 5. Where did they write those books? Okay, where can either be afo or aye. So this one they used afo, and katavu. Okay, so this is the katav is the word for writes. This katvu is they wrote. Et, this is the direct object. Devarim, words. Hahin, those words. So where did they write those words? I remember they gave me the book. Okay, I remember this is the one from today, Zakar. And so I remember, oh, okay, and so this is Zakarti, which can be remember or remembered in the past. Ki, that Natan, he gave, li, to me, et hasefer, the book. He gave to me the book. He gave the book to me. There is evil in this place. So there is yesh. Evil was ra. Makom is place, and hazeh is going to be in this. So yesh ra hamakom hazeh. There is evil in place the this. One of the women is leaving the city. So we have the word for ahat, and a woman is going to be ha'anashim, and they're leaving from the city. It's going to be men. So ahat min hanashim, and this is soet is leaving, min ha'ir, from leaving from the city. So that was that one, number 8. So Mazel Tov, congratulations. You've it's been 6 months, and hope you learned something from here. That's all for now. Just in case you wanted to see what's more about Hebrew and verbs, I'd like to give you a little bit of more background on the Hebrew verbs, so you can continue on your own. There's a lot of videos you can take a look at on your own. I may go over time on this one more than an hour, just so you can take a look at this on your own, but that's good. So looking at verbs, you need to look at 7 things. So first of all, they have a person involved in them. So it's either the first person, like I or we, the second person, you and y'all, The third person is he, she, or it, or they. The number, how many people, it's either singular or plural. We have gender, masculine or feminine. That's no problem. Okay, in Hebrew, they also have voice, which is kind of like Greek. They have an active, a passive, and a middle voice. The active is like, I hit something. Passive is well, I was hit. And reflexive is, I hit myself. So it happened to myself. I did both the doing and the causing. Anyway, I got both ends of it. Okay, in the case of aspect, we have a simple action, it's like he hit. An intensive is not just hit, it just totally smashed or obliterated. Or a causal, it was a cause of something. He made something become hit. He made me hit something or whatever. So they're inflected for causation. Now, the way these go together, you can have a simple action that's active or a simple action that's passive. You can have an intensive active that's active or passive, a causal action that's passive or active, and you can have these which are just in the middle. And those are the 7 binyanims, which we'll talk about here shortly. Okay, we also have tenses, which is like past, present, and future tense. And again, perfect tenses is it's in the past, you add suffix to the end. Imperfect is a prefix in the front and sometimes stuff on the end as well. And weak verbs are those that have a guttural letter as part of it, or a vav, a hey, or a hey, a vav, or a yod at the end. And those can make those weak verbs also. So looking at infinitives, for example, in English, infinitives all have the word to in front: to walk, to read, to sleep, to laugh, to eat, whatever. They can act as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. In Hebrew, all of them begin with la. Notice there's a lamed in front of each one of those. Lalechet, to go. Lada'at is to know. Le'echol is to eat. La'avin is going to be understand. Lishon is to sleep, and lishtot is to drink. So notice after the la, the lamed, it can have a la sound, it can have a la sound, and it can have a li sound. But they're all would have that beginning part. Okay, so before you can get down to the root of a word, you need to start. Roots generally are three letters and 3 letters. So you got to get rid of the first part, which just means the to. And sometimes if you take, there's 5 letters here, you take we have something else still there. And so we have, again, sometimes we have letters that are consonants that are just holding the place of a vowel. So in this case, you take out the vav and the vav and the vav, and you have just these. And then you add endings on to make what the other ones are. These, by the way, are the verbs to eat, to help, and to guard or watch over. If you go to this website, she'll teach you how to do each one of these. And she's a great young lady that does that. She has a great English accent. She has a great Hebrew accent. So she sounds like she's native to both. I'm not sure what her nationality or background is, but she's a great teacher. So she has 51 videos. You're going to watch everything, anything you want to learn about Hebrew verbs, go there and watch her videos, okay? All right, so this is, again, for example, in this case, for the present, ani means I, ata means you, at means you if you're feminine, hu means he means she, anachnu means us, atem is you, y'all, guys, aten is y'all, women, him is them in the masculine, and hen is them in the feminine. So if you're to say, I eat, okay, in the present, it's ani ochel. You eat, ata ochel. And a girl, at ochelet. Hu ochel, he ochelet, anachnu ochlim, aten ochlim, aten ochlot, hem ochlim, and hen ochlot. They say, I got to memorize 10 different words. You notice some of these are repeats. There's actually only 4 of them here. We have ochel there, and here. We have ochelet there and there. We have ochlim here, and here, and ochlot there and there. So in the present tense, there's only 4 conjugations, which just makes it really nice. But over here in the past, we have out of 10, 9 of them are unique. So you need to do 9 of them, and there's 9 of them over here too. So yeah. All right. So we're good with those. So Hebrew verbs are small units that are constructed every time you want to figure out what something is, and it's the basic of every verb is the root. Okay, and the second step, which we just showed you what the roots were, the 3 letters anyway. The second step is to include the binyanim, and this is casting the root in one of the binyanims. that has that in there. Okay, let's delve into what those are. So the roots have the three words. Now this is the word, poel, poel, that's right. Poel is the verb to do, poel. And someone thought, okay, well, let's just call that. So these are the hapoel, means the verbs, the doing words. Okay, so this means the doing. And this is the letter, instead of saying, here's the first consonant, the second consonant, the third consonant, instead of calling it Aleph, Beit, and Gimel, someone had the idea to call it, let's call it Pei, because that's the first letter here. Ayin, because it's the second letter there, and Lamed, it's the third letter there. Now, I don't agree with that, but that's okay. I didn't make the language up, but that's what those are. So if you ever see this, that's referring to the first letter, the second letter, or the third letter of the root. And so the root is the core of the verb, and the roots stay constant no matter what else binyan it is. And whether it's singular or plural, it doesn't really matter. It keeps the content. So for example, if you had the letters Zayin, Lamed, Lamed, it could be turned into a word like glutton, which is the word, this is what to eat, by the way, or to stuff yourself, whatever. So this is, that's what we get from there. Overeating is going to be this word, okay, Zalila. And so instead of Zalan, Zalila, and they gorge themselves, which is then a verb, is Zalu. And so we have, each of those have that same kind of a root into them, and they have kind of the same kind of a meaning. So a binyan is a noun, meaning a building. So if you're going down the street, you see a building, you say there's a beautiful binyan, okay? Binyanim is going to be just the plural. It's the frame that shapes the content of the mood and the meaning, that stresses the subject or the object, and that it's passive or active. Okay, so we have 7 different binyanims in Hebrew, and each binyan portrays a different aspect of the root. And so you can put those in different ways to mean different things anyway. And they're basically into 2 groups, passive and active. So let's take a look at those. So here we have binyanim. We're looking at what looks to be like a 7-branch candlestick, whereas half of them here, in this part, it's the right half are active and the left half are passive. Here it's just the opposite. The active here are on the left and the passives are on the right. But these pa'al and the nifal are both simple. Okay, the piel and the pual are both intensive, and the hefal and the hufal are both causative. And this one is reflexive. Hitpayel is one that's right in the middle. Okay, well, what does that mean? Okay, so let's say it was the verb to hit. Okay, so pahal would mean to hit something. Okay, you say, okay, that means it was hit. I hit it. I hit the ball or whatever. Versus this, say it was hit. It's still pretty simple. Okay, PL would mean I smashed it. I obliterated. I broke it to little teeny pieces. Rather, this is it was broken, or it was damaged, or it was destroyed. Okay, Hefil would be I made. He told me to push it down the hill. He told me to break it or whatever. Okay, as opposed to it was someone told it to her to do it or whatever. Versus I hurt myself in this case. All right, and this is the same kind of a thing. It's just the words in Hebrew, but again, we have the PL and the Nifal up here are the simple ones. The Pa'al, sorry. We have the Pu'al, and we have the PL, which are both intensive, and we have the causative, which are the Hufal and the Hifel, and are going to be the causative and reflexives in the middle. All right, so looking at the binyanim, okay, here we have, so the 3 letters stay exactly the same. And okay, so let's do the simple ones first. Okay, so pa'al for the verb to write. Okay, katav is he wrote. Okay, and the nifal is going to be it was written. Okay, it is about writing, but now they're both in the past. Okay, but it was written. Didn't say who wrote it, but it was written. That's the passive, and this is the active. PL, he engraved it. He carved his name into the tree. He chiseled his name, the picture into the stone or whatever. This is that very active form of PL, as opposed to, well, somebody engraved it. It was engraved, it was written, it was carved, it was chiseled. Okay. Hifil, he dictated, he caused someone to write it, or you dictated and caused someone to write something down. okay, versus hufal or hofal is just, it was dictated. And hitpael is he wrote himself, he wrote about himself, whatever. Now, these words are unusual because remember the word for doing is poel, which is the P and a P and an L there, okay? And these three all have a P and an L, a P and an L, a P and an L. And the two, no one ever showed this to me, it just dawned on me a while, well, not recently, but anyway, I figured this out by myself, I think. But the comes from the we have a comments and a dagesh. And so we have the and all these forms have the in the third person masculine singular. Okay, nifal doesn't have that because it has the na and it's a nun in front, but it still has the there's the and there's the So nifal, we'll have to remember what the vowels are going to be like again for this one, for the third person masculine, which is the root where everything else takes off from there. PL has the EL. Okay, there's the EL, there's the E, or EL, Okay, Pual has the U, All of them have that. Okay, down here we have the Hefil, we have the He and the He and the Okay, He and, or in this case, He, And Hufal or Hofal is going to be Hu, or ho and hitpael is going to have the hit and the l, and so those names will give you kind of an idea about what those are going to be coming from. So again, there's the pictures that have the same kind of a thing, building on that same structure from the Soresh. Now, if you want to find out more about those in our book, Nifal is in chapters 37 through 39. Pual is in chapter 42. Hufal is in chapter 49. Hitpael is in chapter 50. Hefil is going to be in 43 through 48. PL is going to be in 40 through 41. And Pa'al is the very simplest one. It's the most common. It's also referred to as the call. And that's going to be chapters 9, where we just started, to 36. And so it's most of the book is going to be talking about the Pa'al, because 70% of all verbs are Pa'al verbs. And they do have both, they have the singular, they have the present, past, and the future. All right, so that's kind of it. Another tree about here's the ones that are active, these are the ones that are passive, and past, present, and future on each one of those. So it looks like 27 different or 21 different forms, but some of those you can't really use. For example, reflexive. If the word is to sing, this would be singing. This would be shouting opera. This would be, you can't sing yourself though, so that one wouldn't even be a possibility. Okay, this is, he made someone sing or she made somebody sing, he forced them to whatever. So that we're good there. Some of the things I took a look at, I used for today's lesson are here. So, and you take a look at those. The first verb conjugation video, I'll show you just a minute. And here's all 51 of our conjugation videos. And that's good enough on those for now. So let me end this slideshow here. And this is her show. And this is the first one of those. Let me have listen to the first part of this.
So the verb to eat in Hebrew is le'echol, and you see it here with the vowels. Le'echol is to eat. For instance, I want to eat, ani rotza le'echol. Okay, so this is the infinitive. And now to get the root from the infinitive, we have two steps that we're going to take. So the first step is that initial lamed that gives us the to form of the verb. We're going to get rid of that. Now, once we've gotten rid of that, we will.
Cole, he's my miracle child. So how does your miracle child get cancer?
We want to check and see if we have the 3 letters that we need for our root. So we still have an extra letter here. And the second to last extra letter with this binyan will be either a vav or a yod. So what we're going to do in step 2 is we're going to get rid of that vav or that yod. So with this verb, le'echol, we see that it's a vav. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of it. And now we have the 3 letters of our root. So once we got rid of that initial lamed, and then we get rid of that second to last letter, the root of our verb is achal. So le'echol is to eat, and then the root is achal. And we get the vowel pattern from the binyan. So the type of verb that this is, it's a pa'al verb, and you hear that a vowel pattern. And so the root also adopts that vowel pattern. So it's achal, just like the binyan pa'al. Okay, so now we're going to use our root to help us conjugate this verb so that we can use it in the present tense. So the present tense in Hebrew has 4 forms. There's masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. Okay, and you'll notice that there are 3 boxes in each row to the right. And so each one of those boxes holds each letter of your shoresh. Okay, and so we're going to add some additional sounds and letters depending on what form we're using, whether it's masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, or feminine plural. But something that's going to remain constant is the letters of the shoresh. So the aleph is going to appear in all the boxes to the right. The chaf is going to appear in all the boxes to the middle, and the lamed is going to appear in all the boxes to the left. And other verbs that share this pattern, other pa'al verbs, are also all going to appear in the same way. So even if your shoresh is not achal, you might have a different shoresh, but you would still put the letters in the order that they appear in these boxes. Okay, and I'll give you some examples so you understand what I'm talking about. So for masculine singular, the vowel pattern is O-A. Okay, so O-A. So we're going to put the letters of our shoresh in these boxes, and it's going to have an O-A vowel pattern. Okay, for feminine singular, it's O-E-Et. O-E-Et. Okay, that's our vowel, our sound pattern. So masculine singular, O-E. Feminine singular, O-E-Et. For masculine plural, our vowel pattern is O-Im. O-Im. Okay, masculine singular, O-E, feminine singular, O-E-Et, masculine plural, O-Im. And if you know anything about pluralization in Hebrew for masculine and feminine, you might be able to guess that for feminine plural, our vowel pattern is O-Ot. O-Ot. Okay, so O-E, O-E-Et, O-Im, and O-Ot. So now we're going to go ahead and insert the letters from our shoresh into this so we can see what these actual words are. So for masculine singular, we have O-Chel. Okay, so we see the letters of our shoresh, and we have the O and the A. O-Chel. Our vowel pattern is O-E, O-Chel. Okay, for feminine, our vowel pattern is O-E-Et. With the letters of our shoresh, it's O-Chelet. O-Chelet. Okay, so O-Chel, O-Chelet. O-E-Et, O-Chelet. O-Im is our sound pattern for masculine plural. Once we add the letters of our shoresh, it's Ochlim. Okay, from O-Im with our shoresh, Ochlim. Okay, Ochel, Ochelet, Ochlim. And now feminine plural, we have O-Ot. So with the letters from our root, Ochlot. Okay, Ochel, Ochelet, Ochlim, Ochlot. O-E, O-E-Et, O-Im, O-Ot. Okay, so those same sound patterns appear with this verb. All you're doing is adding in the letters of the shoresh. From O-E to Ochel, O-E-Et to Ochelet, O-Im to Ochlim, and O-Ot to Ochlot. Okay, so for example, he is eating or he eats. That would be Hu Ochel. Hu Ochel. Okay, and if you need a refresher on pronouns, you can find the link to that video in the description box as well. Okay, so this is the masculine singular. Now the feminine singular, she is eating or she eats. He ochelet. Ochelet. Okay, hu ochel, he ochelet. He is eating versus she is eating. Masculine singular versus versus feminine singular. And then we have masculine plural. We are eating. Anachnu ochlim. Ochlim. We are eating or we eat. And then feminine plural, hen ochlot. Hen ochlot, they are eating or they eat. Feminine. Okay, so all we did is we added the letters of our shoresh to our vowel pattern. From O-E to Ochel, O-E-Et to Ochelet, O-Im to Ochlim, and O-Ot to Ochlot. Okay, so what I want to do is give you a couple of exercises. So using what you learned today, I want you to find the roots of these two verbs that I'm going to give you and conjugate them in the present tense. So you're going to do exactly what we did with achal, but with the roots that you find from these two verbs. So the first verb is la'azor, okay? And la'azor is to help, And the next verb is lishmor. And lishmor is to guard or to watch over. Okay, so you're going to find.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you some information, and you're welcome to continue looking at more of her videos or others online and coming up with what you can and becoming amazing in Hebrew and understanding better the scriptures. So I'll stop sharing there and turn off the recording and do our closing prayer then.